It is the 24th of July 2020. Good evening to all our viewers here in Kenya and around the world. A very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weekend this Friday night. I do trust you had yourself a fantastic day, even as the coronavirus pandemic continues to grapple all the nations of the world. Every country has reported cases of coronavirus, and right now the world has over 15.5 million cases of COVID-19. Some good news, over 8.5 have recovered from coronavirus. The same trend we are experiencing or seeing here in the country, where we have quite a huge number of COVID-19 cases that are making full recovery every day. And in the last 24 hours, you can see the green line, 311 people recovered. And this includes some from the home-based care program. And of course, a huge number of people in the home-based care program have been recovering on a daily basis. Again, 11 people succumbed to this virus, and the Minister of Health really concerned that most of those developing serious complications are the one with underlying conditions. In the last 24 hours, 667 Kenyans tested positive for COVID-19. This now from a sample size of 5,075. And now the total number of COVID-19 in the country almost nearing, let's say, past the 6,000 mark. 16,268 people have so far tested positive for COVID-19, and almost half of this number, 7,446, have recovered from COVID-19, and 274, not a small number of people who have lost their lives. And of course, families really are mourning the death of their loved ones, the deaths that are being reported every single day. So far, the cumulative sample size of taken since March, when we reported the first case, is 266,102. And we continue to bring you the latest as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And these are not just numbers, but people with symptoms of COVID-19, some struggling with a cough, others struggling with even body pains and chest pains. So why don't you stay safe wherever you are watching us from? We have that and much more lined up for you, including what is happening in Nairobi County. Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko is now saying that he is ready to pull out from an agreement he signed back this year, February 25th, which saw some of the key functions being transferred to the national government now under the National Nairobi Metropolitan Services. We will be getting details of that and much more. Just tell us where you're watching us from at Purity_Museo, at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag Channel 1 Weekend. And Channel 1 Weekend begins right now with the highlights.
Today we have 667 positive cases out of a sample of 5,075 in the last 24 hours.
The country's coronavirus infections jump past 16,000 mark after 667 more people tested positive Friday. President Uhuru Kenyatta declares 3 days of mourning to honor former Tanzanian President Benjamin Mkapa, who passed on Friday. And revelers arrested in late-night drinking in Rongo, Migori, disregarding COVID-19 regulations. Thank you so much for keeping us joining us this night. My name is Purity Museo, and Simon Karodha is our sign language interpreter tonight. Let's now get started. And the country's coronavirus infections jumped to 16,268 Friday after 667 more people tested positive for the COVID-19 disease. The 667 new patients include 657 Kenyans and 10 foreigners aged between 1 month and 92 years. 11 more people have succumbed to COVID-19, raising the number of fatalities to 274, even as 311 were discharged after making full recovery. The Ministry of Health is urging people with chronic disease not to halt their routine care, as this puts them at a higher risk of developing serious complications once they get infected with coronavirus. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, who spoke during daily COVID-19 briefings, expressed concern that the majority of patients had skipped their routine checkups since the pandemic began.
We've seen a drop in outpatient visits by about 30%. And what this means is that majority of our people are no longer visiting health facilities for HIV testing services, and therefore there's a decline in knowing the true status when it comes to HIV.
The CAS announced that the country's infection rate was going high as 667 people tested positive from a sample size of 5,075.
From the cases, 657 are Kenyans, whereas 10 are foreigners. 393 are male and 274 are female. And the youngest one is a 1-month-old infant, while the oldest is 92.
11 more people have succumbed to the COVID-19 disease in Kenya, raising the fatalities to 274.
And what was striking for me today as we reviewed this mortality data is that we've actually lost a child due to rickets. And I found it necessary to really highlight this today because even as we impose physical distancing, even as we say stay at home, then it means that if our children are staying at home, particularly those who live in apartments or areas where there are no fields, and it means that there's a risk when it comes to rickets.
In the meantime, government spokesman Cyrus Oguna confirmed he is undergoing treatment for the virus. Through his official Twitter account, Colonel Oguna said, I quote, "Recently having come from an assignment out of town, I developed mild coronavirus-related symptoms and got tested. The results came back positive for coronavirus, and I am now receiving medical care and responding well to treatment." End of quote. Elsewhere, the Kiambu Law Court has temporarily shut down to allow the disinfection of the facility. Staff stationed at the court has been advised to work from home at least until Monday as the judiciary moves to contain any possible spread of COVID-19 within the corridors of justice. The fumigation comes days after the judiciary suspended operations at the Makadara Law Courts for 14 days over coronavirus infections.
On normal Friday, this place is often abuzz with activity. However, the new normal has meant that the judiciary must take precautionary measures to stem the spread of COVID-19 within its facilities countrywide.
This is on top of other measures that the management of court has already undertaken, including minimizing the flow of people into the courts, maintaining social distance, and other local arrangements that have been put in place by the court.
The Kiambu Law Court, just like others within the Nairobi metropolitan area, handles hundreds of cases per day, making it a hotspot for the spread of coronavirus.
We, as the county health services, we have undertaken this exercise to come to Kiambu Law Courts and fumigate so that we can prevent any further infection of COVID-19 resulting from either from the workers themselves or the culprits who have been brought to the courts.
Already, the judiciary has suspended all operations at the Makadara Law Courts in Nairobi after some staff tested positive for COVID-19. On Friday and Saturday, the Ministry of Health will also fumigate the Milimani Law Courts. To ease traffic along the corridors of justice, the judiciary has leveraged on technology, enabling litigants to access judicial services online.
American philanthropist Melinda Gates has praised Kenya's COVID-19 response measures, saying the interventions are sensitive to the plight of vulnerable women and girls. Melinda, who is also the co-founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, said Kenya's COVID-19 response strategy is helping women and girls cope with the social and economic challenges posed by the pandemic.
Speaking Thursday evening during a virtual meeting with President Uhuru Kenyatta, Melinda Gates said her foundation supports measures being taken by Kenya to tame rising cases of violence against women and teenage pregnancies during the current global health crisis. President Kenyatta said the government recognizes the vulnerability of women and girls to the negative impacts of the pandemic and will continue scaling up measures to cushion them.
The longer we keep, especially our girls, out of school, we have this other problem that's affecting us. And unless we actually put it on the table, unless we actually talk about it, unless we actually acknowledge that it's a problem, we're not going to be able to find the solution.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is actively developing a COVID-19 vaccine, and Melinda assured the president that her organization will ensure frontline health workers are among the first to receive the immunization as soon as it becomes available.
The people who are bound to suffer most are actually going to be women. And that's actually even as part of our own COVID response team. We have a gender-based a team built into that.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one of Kenya's largest development partners in the health sector. The foundation injects over $90 million annually into the country's primary healthcare, covering sectors such as family planning, HIV and AIDS research, maternal and child health and nutrition.
Right, Benson Mwenda on our Twitter account, you tuned in from Nairobi County, and then at Duke, you're saying that you're watching from Feather Estate, of course, here in Nairobi. William Mwamburi, you're also watching Channel 1 Weekend live from Watamu. Dennis Kisoi, you're watching from Kitui County, and we have Chumba Nicholas, who's saying Governor Mike Sonko must be serious in what he's doing. He cannot continue playing cards with Nairobians. If he feels he has been sabotaged, let him resign. All right, tell us what your views are. Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko says that he is now ready to pull out of that agreement he signed back in February this year that saw some of the key functions transferred to the national government. At Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. Remember, we're also live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can also stream live. Elsewhere, at least 114,000 children were abused in the country between July 2019 and June 2020. This is according to the latest statistics by the Minister of Labor and Social Protection. According to the report, the figures have peaked during the COVID-19 pandemic, with Machakos County leading with the highest number of teenage pregnancies at 46 cases, followed by Bungoma, which reported 40 cases. The Ministry of Labor and Social Protection cites frustrations in getting actual number of children abused in the country, attributing the shortcoming to failure to report such cases by either the victims or their guardians.
The ministry is also concerned about cases of child pregnancy, because every one case of a child pregnancy, as stated by Jean Lokeka and also the chair, should raise concern.
Data collected between July 2019 and June 2020 reveals that a total of 114,529 children have experienced at some point the respective abuse. Physical abuse, defilement, and child neglect remain the top forms of child abuse. From the data, 516 cases of early pregnancies were reported within the same period, with 2,318 cases of defilement recorded. The number of children who experienced emotional abuse stands at 924. 152 children faced incest, with neglect taking a huge chunk of 107,868 reported cases.
Every pregnancy by a girl aged 18 and below is a product of defilement or incest, which is a criminal offense in this country. So we are staring at offenders. We are staring at criminals. We are looking at crime that is coming up.
Machakos County reported the highest number of teenage pregnancies after 46 girls reportedly got pregnant in 1 year. Bungoma recorded 40 cases, Migori 37, Kwale 35, Kakamega 23, Busia 20, while Homa Bay 19 cases. On the impact of coronavirus, stakeholders who spoke during the National Gender and Equality Commission webinar called for concerted efforts in protecting rights of children.
Look at best practices across the world would be the teenage pregnancy strategy, the TPS strategy that was executed in the UK a few years ago. And what is remarkable about this strategy is that it actually demonstrated about a 50% drop in teenage conception.
Purity Museo, Channel 1 News. We are now taking our first commercial break. Don't go too far. We still have much more. Keep interacting with us. Share with us your views and opinion on any piece of your choice. But of course, tonight, I'm asking you what you think about Governor Sonko's decision to now pull out of an agreement he signed that saw some of the key functions transferred to the national government. Keep tweeting, and even on Facebook, on Twitter. I'll be sampling them in a short while. Let's take that break.
Sisi Kenyans, we are always ready kuzunguka for bidhaa na biashara. So, when the postal sector opened up, kila mtu started sending and selling kila kitu. And now, Kenyans have kadhaa local and international courier service providers and new e-commerce platforms. And in these times of crisis, our delivery and e-commerce networks are helping us send and receive parcels and goods purchased online safely. Now, the introduction of a national addressing system will fungua even stronger market links and leave no county behind.
Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
Mimi sijapotea. Niko tu hapa. Mimi niko hapa kwa mimi niko nakuja. Don't mind. Wacha hata usikate simu yako. Mimi ndio hii nimefika, hata angalia.
Kupata baba anakuja, bonyeza *811 *962#. Bonyeza *811 *962#.
Welcome back. Glad you're watching Channel 1 Weekend this Friday night. Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has signaled his intention to pull out of the deed of transfer of some functions to the national government. Sonko has filed a notice of declaration of a dispute between his administration and the national government, seeking to terminate Article 11.2 of the deal signed on the 25th of February 2020, which ceded some key functions of the county government to Nairobi Metropolitan Services, a body current domicile at the Executive Office of the Presidency. Sonko argues that the Nairobi Metropolitan Services is incapable of carrying out the transfer functions, saying the body has purported to act as if it had taken over all the roles played by the Nairobi City County against the Constitution. Sonko claims the deed of transfer is fatally flawed and cannot be panel beaten with time to deliver the envisioned desire, saying he is even yet to see the copy he signed and that he was not even given time to read the document or seek legal consultation prior to executing it.
This deed of transfer had not been availed prior to the stated telephone call, either in soft form or in hard copy. There was hardly a 15-minute break between the said telephone call and His Excellency the Nairobi City County Governor's arrival at State House on the said date. Upon arrival, the Nairobi City County Government Governor, His Excellency Mike Sonko, found the table set. There was no time afforded to His Excellency the Nairobi City County Governor to read this document or seek legal consultations thereupon prior to executing it. He was then given a pen and directed to execute the same next to his name. This was sheer duress. It is thus not binding on the Nairobi City County Government. Moreover, the venue of the execution of the deed of transfer of functions subject of this declaration was at State House, Nairobi. This is a document that relates to the ostensible transfer of functions from the Nairobi City County to the national government. And the ostensible venue for its execution would have either been at the Nairobi City County Government City Hall, which is right here behind me, or the Honorable Attorney General's office at Sharia House.
And there you go. Sonko wants out. He says that he was not given time to go through that document. Talk to us at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1. Use the hashtag is Channel 1 Weekend. What's your take on that? Governor Mike Sonko now says that he is ready to pull out of that agreement that saw a transfer of some key functions to the national government. The government, in the same breath, in partnership with private sectors, has assured Nairobi's informal settlement dwellers of full support in mitigating the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, speaking while receiving 10 tons of food aid from well-wishers. Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General Major General Mohammed Badi said the food will go a long way in supporting the vulnerable residing in Nairobi's informal settlements.
The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic is turning lives upside down, especially those population in informal settlements. Majority in key settlements eke a daily living from manual jobs and have lost their livelihoods and are now subjected to begging or sleeping without a meal. To help the affected population, a group of well-wishers has teamed up with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services to support in mitigating the effects of COVID-19 pandemic.
It's a pleasure today to be part of this donation in uplifting lives of Kenyans and the good work that NMS is doing outside there to uplift and make Nairobi and its outskirts a better and more safer environment. We are really proud to be part of this.
I would like to urge all organizations to please give your hand with the government so that we can improve our lives, not only as Kenyans but as a nation.
Speaking while receiving the donation, Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General Major General Mohammed Badi said the donation is a milestone in helping the affected population.
There are people who are very happy within those informal settlements. And I know there are very many organizations, NGOs and international NGOs who are already on ground helping. So this will go a long way in augmenting the already existing aid that we have.
Badi said the donation will be directly channeled to the deserving cases through the local administration.
Mukuru, Kibera, Mathare and Korokocho. Those are the highest populated informal settlement. There are many more in Nairobi. There are over 12. So we will look after all of them as we get this kind of contribution.
The Metropolitan Boss said his administration is working round the clock to complete the construction of 100 boreholes to ensure the city has water 24/7 as part of fighting the pandemic.
So we are working round the clock to ensure that we cut down on the spread of COVID that is facing our country.
I'd also like to encourage the youth, as I'm a youth, that we comply with the COVID-19 regulations and help our elderly also comply, because our youth is a healthy nation.
Elsewhere, President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared 3 days of national mourning in Kenya starting next Monday in honor of former Tanzania President Benjamin William Mkapa, who died on Thursday. President Kenyatta has further directed that the Kenyan and East African community flags be flown at half-mast at all public buildings and grounds from dawn on Monday, July 27th until sunset on Wednesday, 2nd July 29th, 2020. The orders coming as regional leaders eulogized the former statesman as a son of Africa, a public servant with a great legacy of public service and integrity in Tanzania and the region.
Mzee Benjamin William Mkapa, rais wa awamu ya tatu, amefariki.
In a presidential proclamation, President Uhuru Kenyatta said, as a mark of respect and gratitude for the sterling role played by the late Tanzania President Benjamin Mkapa, In fostering cohesion within Kenya, the country will observe 3 days of national mourning. From next Monday, July 27th, until sunset on Wednesday, 29, 2020, the Kenyan and East African community flags in all public buildings and public grounds will be flown half-mast. President Kenyatta eulogized the departed Tanzanian leader as an outstanding East African who worked tirelessly for the integration, peace and progress of the region. African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa, Raila Odinga, described the late Mkapa as a great friend of the Kenyan people, a pan-Africanist and true believer of peace, whose efforts were realized in bringing peace to Kenya after the 2007-2008 post-election violence. On his part, former Kenyan President Mwai Kibaki described Mkapa as one of Africa's most illustrious sons who mediated peace talks in Kenya, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Zimbabwe, South Sudan and Burundi. Kenyans will remember Mkapa for his instrumental role, together with former UN Secretary General the late Kofi Annan and Nelson Mandela's widow Graca Machel, in mediating talks between ODM leader Raila Odinga and former President Mwai Kibaki following the disputed 2007 elections. The last time the late Mkapa visited Kenya was in February this year, when he attended the funeral service of former President Daniel Moi.
Pamoja na kwamba ni mzee wetu, lakini kwangu mimi alikuwa mentor wangu katika utawala na uongozi. Ndio sababu nilisema lazima nije na kupay tribute kwa uhusiano huu niliokuwa nao.
Mkapa was last seen publicly on July 11, 2020 during the Chama cha Mapinduzi National Congress in Tanzania's national capital Dodoma, where President John Pombe Magufuli, who was also present, was endorsed as the party's flag bearer in the coming elections. Born on November 12, 1938, he led Tanzania from 1995 to 2005 before handing over to Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. Mkapa is credited with introducing economic reforms that saw Tanzania transition to a liberal economy. President Magufuli has declared 7 days of mourning in honor of the fallen president.
Na tuendelee kumwombea mzee wetu Rais mstaafu Benjamin William Mkapa, ambaye
his soul rest in eternal peace. Back home, 9 people were last night arrested after they were found drinking in a locked bar in Cham Giwadu Trading Center in Rongo, Migori County. Police working on a tip-off raided the bar and managed to arrest 2 female and 7 male drinking and gambling in a total disregard of the COVID-19 precaution measures as per the Ministry of Health.
These were the scenes at a bar in Rongo last night. Revelers enjoying themselves at a bar, clearly contravening the government's directives aimed at combating the spread of COVID-19.
We managed to conduct a raid at the center, and we nabbed 7 males and 2 females. We also nabbed a person with a gambling machine, which is also illegal, who are still in restaurants and in bars, who are drinking without observing social distancing, without using face masks, and observing other COVID rules.
The 9 will be arraigned in court and face charges of violating the set regulations on COVID-19.
It's a warning to other bar operators who are operating on closed doors and thinking that we are not aware and will not come for them. We are sending a stern warning to them that the government will come for you. We will come for you wherever you are. So you better observe the rules as it is stipulated. When found, their licenses shall be revoked.
The incident comes a few days after Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja and Kasipul MP Charles Were were fined 15,000 shillings each for breaking COVID-19 rules. The development coming amid the rising number of positive coronavirus cases in the country.
And the people streaming in live on our Facebook page include Mark Harry watching live from Kilungu Sub-County in Nunguni. Then we have Joka Sap. You're saying that you are watching kama kawaida. Paul Waithaka, that's on our Facebook page. You're watching from Nyeri County, Channel 1 Weekend. Thank you. And Godi, you're watching from Shinyalu. Stephen Smart Boy, you're also tuned in from Ruaka in Nairobi. Eric Muthine, you're watching from Meru County. And Jim Wa Jemo, you're also tuned in from Kisii County. Keep watching, keep tweeting, talk to us on a live stream social media platform that is on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, and we'll be sampling your opinion during and before the till end of this broadcast. The new normal at the Likoni Crossing Channel continues to pose challenges to commuters owing to congestion in the ferries breaching precautionary measures during these COVID-19 times. Kenya Ferry Services has come up with stringent guidelines during the pandemic period, but as a Coast Region reporter Ann Mburu found out, despite the commuters adhering to donning masks, social distancing is hard to attain.
The Likoni Crossing Channel is the only link to and from South Coast where more than 300,000 commuters use the ferries daily. During rush hour, a huge traffic jam is witnessed with long queues of people awaiting to board the ferry. The security multi-agency comprising of the General Service Unit, Kenya Police, Kenya Ferry Services Private Contracted Security Firm, and the Kenya Ferry Services officers are busy ensuring that both human and vehicle traffic flows with ease. The ferry docks, and in their numbers the commuters hurriedly board the vessel. In their hundreds, they wear their masks following the stipulated guidelines set by the government and implemented by the Kenya Ferry Services in the vessel. However, the commuters lament that the social distancing in the vessel is not working, since in their hundreds they are together.
Hapa ferry kitu inaitwa social distance ndio hakuna, kwa sababu tunawekwa kwa line na tunafinyana kikamilifu kabisa, tunafinyana kama mahindi ndani ya gunia.
Kama sisi wakaji wa Likoni tunaumia. Tukiingia kwa feri, tunaingia kwa feri watu wengi sana na hakuna distance katika ndani ya feri yetu.
The commuters are now calling the authorities and the Kenya Ferry Services to find an alternative solution to the matter before it's too late.
Mimi ningeomba kama ni watu wa Kenya Ferry wangewacha watu wavuke wenye walikuwa wanavuka, lakini waoshe mikono, wavae mask na watu wavuke venye walikuwa wakivuka kawaida.
On Tuesday evening, 25 people were injured during a stampede after the new ferry MV Safari lost control and hit the ramp, causing a huge commotion. For Channel 1 News Hour Weekend from Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
From Mombasa County to the World Health Organization Chief Scientist Swaminathan has said regulators will likely harmonize efforts on potential COVID-19 vaccines to speed up their approvals once they become available. She also said testing vaccines for safety and efficacy could be accelerated to just 6 months if regulators are satisfied with data to issue approvals. More of these and other stories in the global COVID-19 update.
The World Health Organization Chief Scientist Soumya Swaminathan, while answering questions on social media platforms regarding the status of COVID-19, said the speed of approving vaccines cannot overrun the safety. She added that vaccines will not just be injected into millions of people without establishing their suitability and safety for use in large populations. Meanwhile, an Israeli company is developing a coronavirus breathalyzer test that gives results in 30 seconds, billing it as a frontline tool that can help restore a sense of normality during the pandemic. The chief executive officer of Nanoscent, the firm making the test kits, however, said that the breathalyzer was a mass screening tool and would not replace lab tests. Elsewhere, state schools in South Africa will close for a month following a surge in coronavirus cases. The number of confirmed cases in the country has surpassed 400,000, with more than 6,000 people succumbing, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. The measure will come into effect on Monday, and students from poorer families will continue to have meals provided for them by the government during the break. President Cyril Ramaphosa said closing schools was important to stop the virus from spreading. India recorded new one-day case record of 49,310, bringing the country's total cases to 1.2 million. The country also recorded 740 deaths on Friday, increasing the death toll to almost 30,000 since the pandemic began. India is the world's third worst affected country and is currently experiencing a rise in cases after relaxing some lockdown rules. And Bulgarian Prime Minister Boyko Borisov has gone into quarantine after the head of his political office tested positive for coronavirus late on Thursday. 61-year-old Borisov, whose first test for the virus came out negative, will stay in self-isolation until the results of a second test taken early on Friday comes out. Bulgaria has registered a spike in coronavirus infections in the past month, including the Friday 268 new cases. This brings the Balkan countries' total to 9,853, including 329 deaths. In Russia, the total number of cases passed 800,000 as the country reported 5,811 new infections in the past 24 hours. The country's coronavirus crisis response center said 154 people had died from the virus overnight, taking the official death toll to 13,046. Total infections stand at 800,849. Russia says 588,774 people have recovered. Finally, China has reported 21 new coronavirus cases in the mainland, down from 22 cases a day earlier. Of the new infections, the National Health Commission said 13 were in the far western region of Xinjiang and 2 were in Dalian City in the northeastern province of Liangning. The remaining 6 were imported cases.
In other news, the Kitui main slaughterhouse has been closed indefinitely due to sanitation and pollution concerns. The abattoir, which serves hundreds of butcheries within Kitui town and neighboring urban centers, was closed following an impromptu inspection by officers from the National Environment and Management Authority. And in Nairobi's Ruai Estate, a woman was forced to spend the night in the cold with her children after her husband, whom she separated, denied them access to their matrimonial home. These and more news in our County News Roundup.
An impromptu visit to Kitui's main slaughterhouse by officials from the National Environment Management Authority revealed a dire state of affairs at the facility. NEMA Deputy Director for Environmental Planning and Research, Dr. Charles Lange, says the facility was handling meat under unhygienic conditions, thereby exposing consumers to health hazards, leading to its indefinite closure.
We have made a comprehensive inspection. Unfortunately, we have found that they fail to adhere to some minimum compliance standards.
And there was drama at Ruai Estate, Mawimbili area, Nairobi County, after a man denied his family access to the house, forcing his wife and children to spend the night in the cold. It is reported that Monica Waithera separated with the husband Wolse Christopher Gadere and had showed up at her matrimonial home after she was locked out of the rental house she was living with her 3 children.
Mama wa watoto wangu.
Mama ya watoto wako mwenye umekana kwa koti ukasema I was fiancé for all those years. Ukasema mimi ile kitu tuko na wewe pamoja ni mali peke yake. Hao watoto wanakuja unawachukua unaenda unawatupa bypass. Leo nimesema kama mimi ni mama ya watoto wako, hapa nimesema sitoki na tumefungiwa nyumba na sitatoka huku. Na hapa ni kwangu na sitoki huku.
Elsewhere, over 3,000 residents of Kenyoniwana, Nyabikondo and Itianyi villages in Kisii County have accused the county government of laxity in constructing a borehole commissioned 1 year ago after a resident donated half an acre of land in 2018.
Tangu hiyo maji jimbwe, it is almost 2 years by now. Hatujaiona chochote kile. Kasema ya kwamba hiyo maji kitengenezwa, stima pia itakuwa ndio tuwe tukipata maji. but hatujaiona.
Meanwhile, Nyandarua County Governor Francis Kimemia has taken issues with the audit report by the Office of Controller of Budget released in May covering the third quarter of the previous financial year, which ran between January and March. Kimemia, who was speaking on the sideline of a meeting with the clergy drawn from Daragwa, Oljororok and Olkalau in Olkalau, termed the report erroneous. Finally, Garissa County government has warned private developers who have illegally encroached on Swaziland between Diiso and Shimbare in Mbalambala sub-county, Garissa County, against erecting beacons on the land. Lands CEC Abdi Farah, who toured the area following an outcry from the area residents, condemned the move by land cartels who are using bulldozers to demarcate the grazing land.
People have been coming in thousands, grabbing land at their will, fencing acres and acres or even hectares of land. The point where we've reached now is a point where we will never allow again an inch, an iota of land of Garissa that will illegally go to the hands of these land grabbers.
And a lot of feedback coming in on Twitter. Thank you. Bob Owino is locked from Manyata, Gonda, Konambaya in Kisumu. And then Ombati Jobi, you're watching from Tuapa, Kilifi County. Ombati Job, again, you're watching from Tuapa, Kilifi County. Simon Musemi tuned in from Machakos County in Masinga. Alois Mokaya County 045, Kisii County, you also tuned in. Thank you so much. At Caleb Karach, tuned in from Kericho County. Godi Washinyalu, watching from Shinyalu. And then Evans Otieno, you also tuned in. Keep your tweets coming. Keep interacting with us. It's always great to really interact with you on Twitter, on Facebook. We are also live. We are taking a second but very short commercial break. Don't go too far. Still plenty more to come.
It's 3 years since inception of the current Nairobi City County Government. Health, roads and infrastructure, education and social services development are some of the major achievements made by the Nairobi City County Government Administration. Join us as we take you through the journey of the milestones since inception in August 2017.
They were bent on defending their title in the 1998 FIFA World Cup finals, but it was not to be.
3 minutes of stoppage time already.
As Zinedine Zidane reigned riot over the Samba Boys of Brazil.
Into the goal! France has taken the lead! France has taken the lead!
Watch this epic match this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1 as we take the international lead this time round.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu. Mimi ni prosecutor. Niko hapa kusisitiza maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya kuhusu ugonjwa wa coronavirus. Tunaambiwa pahali pana watu wengi lazima tuweke distance, yani kuweka hatua mita 1 kwa mwenzako. Ukienda kwa matatu, weka distance. Ukienda kwa soko ama pale popote mkusanyiko wa watu, ni vizuri uweze kupeana hiyo social distance ili tuweze kumaliza maambukizi. Tukifuata haya masharti ama maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya, hakika tutaangamiza coronavirus na hali yetu ya kawaida tutairudia. Asanteni sana.
Time for business news. The Water Resources Authority has kicked off an exercise to regularize boreholes in 4 counties covering the Nairobi aquifer. The authority has warned landowners and leaseholders in the Nairobi metropolitan area drilling boreholes without authorization and operate them without permits. The Water Resources Authority warns those who have drilled boreholes in Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado and Machakos counties to authentize or kit them or face a fine of at least 100,000 shillings.
Unreliable supply of water in the Nairobi metropolitan area has seen landowners opting to drill boreholes to guarantee supply. But there is a catch. On concerns that increasing number of boreholes in Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado and Machakos counties could drain the Nairobi aquifer, the government, through the Water Act of 2016, requires those planning to drill boreholes to notify the Water Resources Authority before they start the process. The regulator is also concerned that safety of the water from some boreholes could pose a health risk to consumers, hence the need for regularization. This is backed by a recent study which indicated that fluoride levels are very high for water drawn from most boreholes in Nairobi, meaning that the quality of water is poor and not fit for human consumption. In Nairobi County alone, there are over 3,000 commercial boreholes that complement supplies from the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. The Water Resources Authority is now reining in on the unscrupulous drillers, requiring borehole owners to submit paperwork. Under the Water Act of 2016, a person constructing a well or borehole is required to keep records and within 1 month after construction ends, send to Water Resources Authority a copy of the borehole completion records, tests made and lab tests showing suitability of water for drinking. In a public notice, the authority says some contractors and borehole drillers have failed to submit borehole completion records, warning that non-compliance will lead to prosecution and, if convicted, one risks a fine of 100,000 shillings. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
Kenyans might be forced to dig deeper into their pockets to afford a plate of ugali. Cereals Millers Association CEO Paloma Fernandez says farmers and brokers are taking advantage of the coronavirus pandemic to hoard maize in anticipation of the government announcing a higher maize buying price. This, she says, will ultimately reflect in the final maize flour retail price.
The government gave millers the green light to import maize from Mexico and South Africa to fill the impending deficit in measures aimed at protecting consumers from a price hike. However, the millers say the shortage is artificial, as some farmers and brokers are still holding to maize stocks in anticipation of a maize price increase. The Millers Association CEO Paloma Fernandez now wants the government to stop fixing maize buying prices and let the law of demand and supply dictate maize prices in the country.
Because what happens in the market, if the market price is about maybe 2,800, the government would come one day and say, today we want 3,400 for our farmers. Immediately there's a price spike. One of the things that we noticed during the COVID situation was that some of the farmers and brokers were actually holding some of their produce, thinking that the government would get involved directly and start procuring from them. So again, the speculation caused scarcity in the markets, and again the price fluctuated.
Millers also took issue with the government's frequent decision to close down milling companies due to aflatoxin contamination, instead of encouraging regulatory bodies to constantly monitor the whole cereal value chain, especially at farm level, to reduce incidences of contamination.
It doesn't mean that a commercial miller who's just more noticeable is the one who will always get tested and always get affected, and the rules of fortification, the rules of aflatoxin only applies to commercial millers. It needs to apply across the board. Whether it's the posho millers, whether it's that small 5-ton mill, everybody needs to follow food safety regulation.
The CEO adds that blacklisting of milling factories has seen some of their members suffer heavy losses and potential investors shy away from the Kenyan market. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Moving on, the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization has renamed Kilifi Smooth Cayenne pineapple variety to Marafa Sweet in a rebranding exercise targeting the European markets. Head of Seed Unit Lawrence Muragwa says despite the pineapple variety having a unique taste, farmers are yet to fully benefit from the produce.
Kenya accounts for 30% of canned pineapples exports from Africa, with Israel a key destination for Kenyan pineapples. Kenya is seeking to start shipping pineapples to Germany and United Kingdom in an aggressive campaign that involves smooth cayenne pineapples variety that has been named Marafa Sweet.
We have developed a local name around Marafa. We call it Marafa Sweet. That is the name we want to market in Kenya from Marafa. We call it Marafa Sweet for the sake of marketing in the supermarkets.
Nasi ya huku hayahitaji kuwekwa sukari. Hiyo yenyewe tayari iko na sukari ambayo hiyo hata imepita. Saa zingine wanatumia hizi mananasi hii kuchanganya na mananasi yao kusudi waweze kupata ile sukari inahitajika.
The new campaign includes segmenting farmers to produce pineapples for different markets.
There's a need that we are on a high level in the department so that we can be able to commercialize this sector, whereby we are looking at having what we call contracted farming, whereby the farmers will be profiled and enlisted to make sure that they sell or they only produce for a specific market.
The Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization will distribute high-yielding pineapple seedlings to increase acreage and production.
We have found that farmers are planting pineapples locally without knowing the geometry of planting. We are at a moment today setting up experiments to determine the best arrangement of pineapples in the farm, because they range from 7,000 plants to 10,000. And you know in Thika and Kiambu, it is 22,000.
Pineapple farmers want both the national and county governments to increase funding for pineapple value chain and market access campaigns to earn more from their produce. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
To read their Bible daily, they become wiser and they become stronger than the people who don't read their Bibles. So when you choose hard, difficult things, you become a natural leader. He brings us to church to introduce to us another higher level of relationship that is called a faith relationship. You are also a solution to somebody else's problem. You cannot be the only problem all the time.
Join Pastor Jimmy Masharia on the Master's Touch this Sunday from 8 a.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Starting sports news on a sad note, legendary Kenyan athlete and former Olympian Ben Jipcho won a silver medal in the 1972 Olympic Games behind teammate Kipchoge Keino is dead. The 77-year-old former athlete passed away Friday morning after multiple organ failure following a prolonged illness.
Jipcho, who hailed from Mount Elgon, shot to prominence during the 1968 Olympic Games, where he played rabbit, helping Kipchoge Keino win gold in the 1,500 meters race at the Games held in Mexico. Jipcho later won 5,000 meters race at the 1973 All-Africa Games. He also won gold medal in the 5,000 meters and 3,000 meters steeplechase and a bronze in 1,500 meters at the 1974 Commonwealth Games in Christchurch, New Zealand. Several leading sportsmen and government officials mourned the passing on of the veteran athlete, with Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed in a tweet acknowledged the pioneer athlete's exploits had on the country's image in its early sporting years. National Olympics Committee of Kenya Chairman Paul Tergat mourned Jipcho as the one who brought down doors for many. No individual has ever matched his three-medal haul attained at the 1974 Christchurch Games in the history of Commonwealth Games to date. Bernard Okumu, The Sport at 9.
And And Kenyan Premier League champions Gor Mahia have confirmed the signing of goalkeeper Levis Opio from the just promoted side Nairobi City Stars. The 25-year-old has penned a 2-year deal at the club after previously featuring for Thika United, Western Stima, Posta Rangers and German club Fortune. Levis started his goaltending duties back in 2010 for Thika's Shimanzi before moving to AC Thika in 2011. He then moved to Thika United, then to Mahakama, Posta Rangers, Western Stima, Mathare United and back to Posta Rangers before heading out on loan to German side. And in 2018, he was back in 2019 where he had a short-term contract with Vihiga United. And that brings us to the end of Channel 1 Weekend, and that Channel 1 Weekend could not have been a success without your company. Yes, Bid and Brenda, you are tuned in from Migori County. Festus Mulumba, thank you so much. You are also watching from Lolongo, and Side Peter, you are tuned in from Busia, Malaba border. And then Edu, you also watching Channel 1 Weekend. Tuned in from Kiambu, Njoroge Harrison, Evelyn Peter, you're watching from Kisii. And finally, Grace Tieno, good evening, watching from Kakamega as usual with the whole family. Thank you so much for tuning in to Channel 1 Weekend this Friday. But of course, Channel 1 Weekend continues tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. We'll be bringing you the latest news. You can also tune in or even subscribe to our website and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News for the latest news updates. Thank you once again for tuning in. I'm Purity Museo. Simon Karodha has been our sign language interpreter this night. Do have yourself a peaceful night and God bless. Up next, weather forecast with the beautiful Irene Muchuma Odim. Stay tuned for that.
Great indeed. It's time for us to have a look at how the weather will be in the next 24 hours. I hope you're well from wherever you are. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. Scattered wet conditions are underway in Nyandarua, Laikipia, North Rift and northwestern parts of the country. This, as the rest of the country, is covered with scattered clouds, and that is how it will be for the rest of the night. It will be cool and cloudy tomorrow morning in the capital, followed by sunny intervals. A different scenario will be experienced in Meru, where we're expecting light rains, but cool and cloudy weather conditions will be experienced in Nyeri County. At the coastal strip, we're expecting sunny intervals to prevail. There will be rains in Mandera and Marsabit during the morning hours. The northwestern parts of the country will experience scattered wet conditions at the Lake Basin region and western parts. We're expecting sunny conditions to prevail, but this would change in the afternoon. We're expecting showers accompanied by thunderstorms to dominate Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kisii and Nandi. Also, a few areas over the northwestern part of the country. The northeastern will continue to experience sunny conditions. It will be sunny at the coastal strip, a perfect weather for outdoor activities. Temperatures have slightly gone up in Mandera. We're expecting maximum of 35 degrees Celsius. The capital will experience highs of 24 and lows of 12 degrees Celsius. And for you in Lamu, expect highs of 29 degrees Celsius. That is your weather here in the home country. Let's now have a look at the international forecast. Do have a good night and a beautiful day ahead.